Hello, Ghosts and Ghouls. Just a quick reminder that the pilot episode of our new fictional radio play series, Beneath the Cobblestone, releases this Friday at 12 a.m. In the series, I play Maeve, a young and ambitious demon hunter tasked with keeping the most haunted city on Earth, Savannah, Georgia, safe from DMEs, a demonic or malicious entity.
The first episode is called The Six Steps, an episode where Maeve and her partner in Paranormal, my character, who's named Dr. Pendleton, battle a legendary entity who became notorious in Savannah lore in the 1800s.
My name is Patrick Saxon, and I play Dr. Goust in Beneath the Cobblestone. This first episode is not one to miss, so be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts or subscribe on YouTube to get the notification when it's available.
Now sit back, relax, and enjoy our new episode of The Most Haunted City on Earth. I am Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susie.
And we're paranormal specialists who live in the most haunted city on Earth, Savannah, Georgia. Every day is Halloween in our line of work, so join us as we spin true tales of haunts, murders, and disturbing Savannah history. I'm Madison.
I'm Chris.
And welcome to the most haunted city on Earth. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the most haunted city on Earth. My name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susie.
And JT doesn't have a mic today. I am not prepared for that.
JT's right over there.
JT's right over there. And
He's present. He's nodding emphatically.
Yes. And this is Batrick.
Batrick.
And this is Patrick.
Patrick.
Hello.
Yes, so we have Batrick and Patrick today on the show. Patrick, of course, you guys have seen him or listened to him if you've listened back on some older episodes. Patrick's with the Paranormal Society of Savannah, and we were going to talk about today Bobby Mackey's, since we had mentioned it in our most recent episode about, haunted places that you can go investigate and stuff. So, Patrick, would you like to introduce yourselves for people who do not know you?
Plug away.
Yes, plug all the things.
My name is Patrick. Born the day before Halloween. A lot of y'all
That's
don't
pretty
know.
dope.
The founder of Paranormal Society of Savannah. Lived here all my life, and I got interested early in life, and Paranormal Society of Savannah is rocking, and our coffee shop in Pembroke, which is our headquarters, Haunted Grounds Coffee. Come on up, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk some ghosts.
Oh, yeah. And they have a little bit of a haunted museum of, some different artifacts and stuff at the coffee shop, too, which is pretty awesome. And
this is also the location where you'll find classes and where the Paranormal Society of Savannah will hold meetings and sort of make their plans to take over the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Plot to take over all the ghosts of the world. Yes.
Yeah, we offer paranormal classes and stuff. And, a lot of times we'll do investigations, not at the shop because, unfortunately, it's not haunted. But this is a good way for them to learn the basics, do's and don'ts, basic rules, and then you feel more comfortable going with them on an investigation. So
right.
they know what to expect.
Exactly. So before we get into today's episode, we do want to say that we are still holding that what is it, the bet, I guess, is a good way to put it.
We are running a bet.
Yes.
A race against time, if you will.
Yes. If we get 140 Parajunkies by, what's the deadline, Jay? There's no deadline.
Oh, when we hit
140 Parajunkies on Patreon, we will be going to Waverly Hills in Kentucky.
That is correct.
We will investigate it, and we will find...
We'll poke it with a stick.
We will find them ghosts in that the old hospital.
Did you turn into an old prospector?
Yes.
There's ghosts in the hills there. Ooh.
There's ghosts in them hollers.
Ghost.
But yes, but that is not the point of today's episode.
Are you sure we can do this for an hour?
Yes, but we are going to go to Waverly Hills once we hit 140 Parajunkies. So if you are teetering on the edge of wanting to become a Parajunkie, definitely
send us to Waverly Hills.
Send us to Waverly Hills, and
we may not return.
Yeah,
I will say, as a Parajunkie, I signed up. I will say you get exclusive content. I love getting that message when I'm sitting at work, and I'm like, how can I get out of this meeting to watch some of this spooky stuff going on that they're talking about? Yeah, so it's great.
Yeah, we've
There's a lot
actually
of
gotten a
extras.
couple of people who are like, yeah, I'm at work and just like listening.
I think Mel, who is also part of the Paranormal Society, I think she also posted not that long ago, like her at work with her TV in her
Yes.
office watching the podcast, which is so funny.
Yes.
But
And Ashley was like, she got commended for her good spirits. And she's like, they don't know that I'm always smiling because I'm listening to the podcast.
But yes, it's a great group of people too. All the Parajunkies are just really awesome and wonderful, spooky people. So if you like meeting new people who are also interested in ghosts, it's a good place to be. Other announcements. So coming up in October, when you probably have already heard this if you've listened to our most recent episode, but Chris and I are going to be partnering with Eni at King Oliver's Creole Bar and Pizza Shop, if you will.
Pizza.
Yes, we're going to be doing every single Tuesday a little show, if you will, where we tell ghost stories. We do live demonstrations of paranormal investigative techniques like the Estes method, which we have done in King Oliver's before.
Absolutely.
Which, if you haven't seen that, you should go watch that before you come. And then also we'll do Q. You have to be a Parajunkie, so that's another reason to become a Parajunkie.
Yeah, we're just dropping all kinds of Parajunkie gems.
Oh, yeah. And then also we'll be doing Q&As. We'll take photos of y'all. You can meet us, all the good stuff. And it is $25, and you get 2 slices of pizza with that as well.
Yes.
So.
It is good stuff.
Yes, so that's going to be coming up every single Tuesday. And then on Halloween, which is also a Tuesday, it's going to be a Halloween party, costume party with trivia and
Prizes for best costumes and prizes for most trivia answers correct.
Yes.
And prizes for just being there. I mean, the prize would be being there, so, you know.
Yeah. So, perfect. Thank
Excellent.
you very much. Okay, so
Very timely.
while we're on the Parajunkie train here, we want to thank a few new Parajunkies. So we want to thank Sky J, Juanita, aka Boom, Caitlin Stab, Jinx, Mike Mann, Lindsay Waffle, Melissa Ducate, Ducate, I think is how you pronounce your last name. I apologize if I messed that up. Destiny, Jen Merck, and Angie Fenton. So thank you guys so much for becoming Parajunkies. And if you would like to join that list, you know where to find us. But anywho, let's talk about Bobby Mackey's.
Bobby Mackey's.
So, Patrick, what made you decide that you wanted to do Bobby Mackey's besides the obvious, I guess, of it being extremely famous? But
Yeah, it's kind of like a bucket list. Everybody has their bucket list. I think we have 10 on there, and that was one of the top 5. And what we noticed was it's not that far from Waverly Hills. So we were like, hey, let's try to hit both. You know, it's only about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. So anyways, we decided, hey, let's do it. But one of the things we were looking at, of course, was the distance, and then lining it up with Waverly Hills, which only does like Friday and Saturday, and then Bobby Mackey starts on Sunday and goes through Thursday. So a lot of us, you know, we work, so we were like, how can we do this without taking off a ton of work and stuff or missing work? So, but we wanted to do it because we've heard so much about the, you know, portal to hell and all the stuff that happened to the caretaker and things. So, plus we heard that the famous mechanical bull from Urban Cowboy is there. So, we went there, and it was okay. It
Wasn't all folks. Well, let's start by just telling the story as you know it of Bobby Mackey's before any investigation came around. I mean, we've all heard, slices of it, and certainly if you're in the paranormal interest group, you're going to know the name Bobby Mackey's. But let's hear the story as you knew it.
So, I've always read and watched or whatever was, of course, the murder of the young lady that lost her head, and the head was lost down into the well. Used to be old, like, butcher place, slaughterhouse or whatever, right. And that's where the blood would go and run out to the river or whatnot. So that was one of the things. There was other stories about a gentleman there that was jealous of his. He was in love with this girl, and the lady haunts the place and everything. But then, there was something evil down in the well, supposedly. So that's what we wanted to see, because the caretaker was always talking about it, in all the episodes we've watched and read and whatever interviews. So that's the reason we were like, yeah, this is really going to be the most haunted place we've ever investigated. So we thought.
Right.
Right.
So moving into the actual investigation, how did you set up for the investigation? I mean, actually, even more to the point, how do you organize for a trip like this? I mean, how do you go through the contact points and things of that nature?
Yeah. So we kind of have a large team. So the ones that were going to Bobby Mackey's, there were 7 of us. It's about $600, I think, for private. Mm-hmm. And they asked for $100 up front, deposit, and then you don't get that back, and then you pay the $500 when you get there, whatever. Just to know how much, letting people know how much it is.
No, absolutely. I think that a lot of our listeners are probably interested in the process of getting into some of these places, and to be honest, there's not a whole lot of information readily available to people. You have to dig, and luckily Patrick's done the digging.
Yeah. So we got there. You can either start at 7 or you can start at 8 or whatever. So we started at 8. So ours was from like 8 to 3 or 8 to 4, something like that. Anyways, the young lady that kind of runs it for Bobby Mackey's, she has been doing it for years and is a paranormal investigator herself. She knows a lot about the history. So we knew we were kind of in for it, but as soon as we opened the door, the heat hit us. It is so hot in Bobby Mackey's. And of course we were there like August, like the beginning of August, but there's no air conditioning. None.
Lord.
So plan on not going during the summer. I will tell you that.
Absolutely.
Right.
And when I say sweating, I mean sweating. Right. But so when she sets everything up, she says, okay, you can do the tour if you want. You want the real version or you want the TV version? And right then I knew, okay. So then she went into it and she was telling us that it's not really that haunted, but that the young lady who supposedly his head was cut off and threw down the well, that didn't happen there. That happened like counties over.
Yeah.
And she was in love with this guy, and the guy didn't want to do it, and she was pregnant, and him and his buddy decided to kill her and cut her head off and dumped her body, and some boy going to work found it, farmhand, and but the head was never found. But supposedly it was in a like a duffel bag or something.
Sure.
And they took it to like the pharmacist or the bartender or something. So like, hold this for me.
Oh my God.
But then he came back for it. And so but she was like, yeah, a lot of these stories, she said that out of all the paranormal teams that come out there on the TV, the ones that kind of come real close was Portals to Hell with Katrina and Jack. Yeah. She said they pretty much stuck to the history and actual facts and things.
Right.
So, but yeah, we split up. There were 7 of us. So the actual well part, a lot of people don't know. You have to go out of the building. You have to walk to the right, and you go down this huge embankment where you park down there. And you got to walk way down, and then there's a little door, and you open it, and to the left is where the caretakers used to go and have all kind of weird things happen. And then to the right, and it's real, I'm going to tell you, it's dirty down there, like dirty.
Oh, sure.
And this dirt floor and everything. To the right is when you go into the actual portal, and they have the little fence up there, whatever. We put our tripwires up there and everything, REM pods, everything. Nobody ever got anything. Mm-hmm. We were there. Different times. So we had a team go there, a team over where she told us where the like visitors are near the mechanical bull, and then the other was, of course, where they did the exorcism for the caretaker on the table there.
Right.
So we were kind of spread out and doing things, and then we would go outside because it's so quiet in there. You could hear, and you can hear the people down where the tunnel or well is. you can hear the footsteps upstairs a lot.
Sure.
So then we figured out, okay, so I'm just trying to save people time. Like, don't send anybody down there. Somebody's going to be up top because you're going to hear nothing but footprints and things, creaks and whatever. So kind of just wait and time it. But yeah, we were there for like 6 hours, sweated like really bad.
And was it just the 7 of you on the property at the time?
Just 7. The caretaker,
And
not the caretaker,
guide,
because he died.
Right.
The only place that's off limits is the stage, and the caretakers, they won't let you go up there anymore. And that's where all the activity supposedly is. I wish we would have known that before we went.
Sure, of course.
Because that's where we wanted to go. That's where all the action was happening.
Right.
So we weren't allowed to go up there. But she sits outside in her car and sleeps. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, of course.
It's crazy, yeah. But it was a good experience. You know, it's one of those bucket lists. I'm glad we did it. But it's always one of them things where, you know, it's like fishing, like I always say. You don't always catch everything. But what you do, you go back, or you try another spot. You just keep going, and you can't make the go.
Fishing's such a good analogy for that, because what happens a lot is when people go to haunted places and they don't get anything, they assume and say, well, there's no ghosts, or this place isn't haunted. And it's like, so are you sitting on a pond saying, well, there are no fish in this pond? It's like, no, you didn't catch anything. There's a big difference between you not experiencing something and the entirety of, you know, of whatever's going on. And so it's tricky, because it's easy to dismiss things simply because you didn't have an experience. But it's a big wide world. There's a lot going on.
One of the other reasons, of course, has got to be the heat.
Absolutely.
We love investigating in the winter because it seems like there's more energy in the air for them to.
I think I've given that ghost tip before here on this show. Is the colder the weather, the more likely you are to be the source of energy in a space that will draw whatever needs energy towards you. You know, when it's very hot outside, there's plenty of energy, plenty of energy to draw from. So they don't need to, spirits do not need to turn to you for attention or for energy. They can feed themselves just fine in the heat, especially the sticky, horrid heat, muggy heat.
They will let you bring like a cooler of water and stuff.
Sure.
Right.
So there's only one store, and we had to go about a mile or two down the road to get it. But when we come back, it was like, it was like gold.
Right.
And but it was a good trip. We got one EVP out of hours and hours of things. But
is it the type of music or just the music in general? Is it the type of music or just the music in general?
Here's the weird thing. I didn't know I was in Bobby Mackey's, like on the actual like dance floor where everybody sits in there. I was in there, and where the exorcism was done supposedly on the caretaker for like an hour and a half by myself. I thought they were over in the corner over there. Like, wait, they had dipped out. They got hot, so they were sitting in there. And I'm in there and I'm like, man, if I'd have knew this, no. No, I'm not sitting in here by myself, because all the stories you hear.
Right, sure, of course.
But we got one EVP, and I'll send it to y'all.
Another interesting thing is there are plenty of investigations, plenty of things that provide zero evidence at all. So one EVP is pretty good. I mean, it's still it's
pretty
something.
clear too.
And so it's easy to get discouraged when you're hoping to find things flying around, but it's a process. Investigation is a process. It's never going to be a one night thing. It's never going to be that kind of thing. But I do note that Bobby Mackey has a reputation. It
does,
and it's got this big boastful reputation. And if it's not delivering, I can see where it'd be frustrating,
right?
To be like, we were kind of counting on there being evidence just coming out of the floorboards.
Yeah, we plan on going back, but it'll be a while, and it'll definitely be like winter, cooler weather.
There you go,
way cooler weather. But we plan on going back because again, you don't always get something, and maybe it just wasn't our night.
Sure.
So we're not putting it down. By all means, explore it. It's worth it. The history and everything.
Well, just to say that you've been to Bobby Mackey.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. And it's a cool place. Oh, so one of the cool places we were in that she let us in was it used to be Bobby Mackey's little like his little private hangout, kind of like this, and but it's real small. But what it used to be a vault.
Oh.
And you still have the bars on the windows where people would come and get paid when there was like a
Sure.
brothel and
Right.
stuff and everything, whatever. So the bars are still there and everything, and that's how they used to pay the help and stuff like that, or whatever, like the bands.
Was it once a casino too?
Yeah, it was a
It would have been a
casino.
payout place as well.
So they've got all that. It's huge, man, and it's crazy. It's a crazy. You got couches in there. You can finally lounge. You're like, okay, it feels good in here. There's a little air going on in there, but it was just a creepy thing. And supposedly, someone was killed right there, and that's where they had a lot of activity. He tried to rob the place and shot him, and he died right outside the vault. So of course, we're like, oh, let's talk to this guy. Nothing. So.
Yeah.
Sure. But you mentioned, how do you plan stuff like this, man? It took like 3 or 4 months to kind of plan it, because a lot of us, that's a 12-hour ride, almost 14 hours if you're driving. So as some of the crew started like, oh, I can't go for whatever reason, I was like, well, I'm flying then. So, and my dad won't fly. He's like, nope. And then Sarah on the team, this was our first time flying. Poor thing, she gets like motion sickness and everything. It was bad. So, but we had a mom and daughter team members that was driving up. They have a huge truck, and I was like, so if y'all are driving, y'all mind taking the equipment? That way we ain't gotta worry about So they were awesome. They took the equipment and drove up there. We flew, 4 of us, and it was.
And how much equipment would you take for a team of 7?
Well, here's the thing. So first we went to Waverly because it's only an hour and a half. So we went to Waverly first, but we were like, okay, we don't know when we're coming back. You spending all this money and time and effort to get there. So you would like to bring something and say, man, I wish we would have had this or that.
Right, sure.
Right.
So we brought all kind of stuff, of course, the cameras and stuff, REM pods, things like that. But we were real heavy on the Estes method and the SLS camera.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So that's what we were kind of with. They did a lot of experiments with balloons. There's some kids, when you guys go.
Oh, yeah.
Because y'all going to get your pair of junkies.
Right.
That's a given, man. So I'll tell y'all all about that whenever you guys say you're going. But we had some really cool stuff. But I made a rookie mistake. Like the first couple hours, I forgot to flick the mic on.
Oh, no.
So, but you can see everything. But
That's great.
Right.
Yeah.
And this, that's definitely worth explaining, that, user error and equipment error is a big part of the ghost hunting thing. It's easy to have a piece of equipment that is faulty, or just a simple slip of the memory to flip the right button. Lord knows I was somewhere where I had apparently turned on the camera at some point, and then when I needed it, I turned it off to talk, and then I turned it on. So I always would get the in-betweens of everything I did. Yeah. So that's all I had, was I'd be talking to the camera for like 15 minutes, I'd turn it off, and then people could just watch me like...
Yeah. I think it's kind of like the excitement and stuff, and then it's like, okay, we only have 6 hours, right, or whatever, because it's not like a typical investigation where you go out and spend as long as you want. You got time to set up. We were in such a hurry.
Right.
I just made a simple mistake of not flicking it on at Waverly for the first few hours.
Sure.
Bobby Mackey's mic was on.
Yeah.
So,
you knew what you're doing.
Sure,
and you got an MVP.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Well, and it's funny, and the thing is, too, that people don't remember is that sometimes your equipment malfunctions, not because of you, but because of spirits.
Absolutely.
You guys actually witnessed it happen on this podcast a long time ago, and it might have just been for Parajunkies only, where my spirit box just absolutely combusted practically.
Right, exactly.
It was the most bizarre thing, and none of us could figure it out. They're not that complex of a piece of machinery.
It's just a radio.
It's just a radio. But sometimes it's just like that. Sometimes it's...
And recently JT's iPhone went black when he went to take a
so
picture
weird.
of a grave, of all things, and then later that same night, we had issues recording with his phone, which is bizarre because there had been never this instance before, and now that iPhone is buried.
It was
under the sea.
It is. It's
So
buried
gone.
under the sea. He was trying to take a photo of Pugin, the pup,
In Charleston,
in
at
Charleston.
Pugin's Porch.
Yeah.
Yeah, because have you been to Pugin's Porch before?
No,
Oh,
I've heard of it.
It was really good.
It's very, very good food.
Yeah, it was very good. We went to dinner there.
Best banana pudding.
Oh my god, that banana,
Banana
pudding
pudding.
was good.
It haunts me.
It does.
The banana pudding haunts me.
But Pugin's Porch is named after the person who owned the house, their dog, and the dog is buried in the courtyard where you're eating.
At the very least, there's a marker. Yeah.
There is. I doubt Pugin's remains are still there by this point.
One would imagine.
But but yeah, there's a headstone laid in the courtyard that says Pugin on it,
That
and
is
so
cool.
And people report
really cool.
seeing and hearing the dog running around the house, and one of
I
the
love a
original
ghost dog.
owners running around the house. So it's a wonderfully haunted restaurant in Charleston, but also really good banana pudding.
Yeah. Where are you going this weekend to investigate?
Oh, so this weekend the team is going to the Thomas House in
Oh, nice.
Red Bowling Springs, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's an awesome place. We got Kyle going with us. Y'all know Kyle Cobb,
Oh yeah,
demonologist and everything. So he's going with us. He's a good buddy of ours, and he's like, I got nothing to do that weekend. Come on, man. So, yeah, because he wrote a book about the Thomas House.
Yes.
And
Right.
if you know Kyle, he is a no BS type of guy when it comes to history and books and everything. He's like to the point, but very interesting. I could listen to him for hours. But so we're heading up there. The cool thing about it is it's run by like a mom and pop kind of. And I called. I was like, "Yeah, we want all 15 rooms, because we didn't know how many wanted to go." And she's like, "Okay, well, it's just $99 a person, so it doesn't matter." And we were like, "Really?" Like, yeah, it's
That's
$99
incredible.
a person. She said, and it includes breakfast and dinner. And it's not like just grits or oatmeal. It's like breakfast and it's like dinner. So we were like, really? Wow. So all we got to worry about is lunch then. So
That's
So
really
it's family
nice.
style kind of situation. That's amazing, and it's probably worth the trip just because it's so reasonable. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a
Right.
very reasonable
Exactly.
Thing. Tell us a little bit about the stories of the place, as you know them. Have you been before?
I've never been.
Oh, okay.
So a couple of the stories that, of course, I hear is basically outside of it. God, I don't want to get it wrong. We really started reading up on it this past week, but right outside is a church like across the
Yep.
street. But they say that place is really haunted. I don't really have any like really stories about it because I don't want to say the wrong thing, and then Kyle called me up and be like, "You idiot! I gave you my book to read, and you can't even tell them." So, yeah, that's my fault for just skimming through it and reading it real quick. But yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head here.
That's fine. You can look it up yourself naturally, but it is one of those things where sometimes going into a space without knowing is far better, simply because you have no way of leaning the evidence.
Right.
Because that's something that oftentimes happens. People do so much
Yeah.
research beforehand that they're looking for things, and then they start making connections that aren't really there. So, with every investigation, you should have someone who knows the story and someone who doesn't.
Right.
Because the person who knows the story can verify anything that somebody who doesn't senses or sees.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the person who knows the most about the events of a house should not be a part of the investigation, because again, their minds are already geared towards discovering things that may not truly be connective.
Yep.
And that's why the Estes method is such a popular method,
Exactly.
is because when you hear the question being asked, you automatically start listening for the answer. But if you don't know what the question is, if you can't hear the question, and you hear a voice come through and you speak it out, you are not being tainted by expectation.
Exactly.
Yeah. I personally don't like doing any research before an investigation, just for that exact reason.
I do a little.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and especially if you're planning to be the person asking the questions in an SC's method, then absolutely by all means do some research so that way you can ask more specific questions. I am typically on the other side of it, so I find it more efficient for myself to not know what I'm looking for. And what we also like to do a lot of times is have a point of contact.
Yeah.
Somebody who's very knowledgeable about the property, whether it be a caretaker, a docent,
A historian.
Exactly. So that way we can ask some questions afterwards.
That's kind of like what Kyle's going to do. So
Excellent.
whenever we get there, he's going to be kind of giving us a small, hey, this and this. But I got a question for you real quick. So you mentioned the Estes method, right? We've been doing it for like 2 years. But I see now a lot of people are doing like the Delco goggles or glasses. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Where they look like Mothman or something?
Yes.
I'm like, have y'all used them? Because I'm like, I don't know if I want them, man.
We've used the VR goggles that Ghost Tube came out with.
Yeah, I saw those.
Right.
It
Like
creates
the
a
aura
very
goggles or something?
well, it's basically using AI to create images much in the same way that a spirit box does. It translates into words, then those words become
Gotcha.
images. Very fascinating. We had some very fascinating results in Washington. There have been some interesting advances in the types of equipment that you add to the Estes method. There's also, what is it called?
Those Delco goggles, though, they just trip me out because they're so bright. Right? I'm like, I don't know if I want to look at that.
Right.
Well, and it's interesting because there's, investigative experiences where there are teams out there who will take you. And I've noticed on a lot of them, they offer that now with their Estes methods.
Yeah.
Just with the VR goggles, me personally, I'm a little bit of a purist with it, if you will. I don't like it. I feel like I am not as connected, at least, to what is happening when I have that on. It could just be that.
And I think different people have different things because some people are not audio. Their responsiveness is not nearly as powerful. When they have something visually happening, they're more reactive or even intuitive. When they see something, they register more. And some people more when they hear something, they're registering something, a deeper understanding. But it is interesting that the Estes method is now getting new upgrades to it.
Yeah, I don't know. If you get the opportunity, try it out, and if somebody on your team wants to try it out, I mean, it doesn't hurt to see what happens, and it might, like Chris said, work really well for some people.
Yeah.
But
I was going to buy them. They're not that expensive, but like you were mentioning, how do you get to point A and B? We would take 4 or 5 cars. Everybody's carpooling and stuff, and it just seems like it's not as fun getting there. Right. A lot of times we're on our radios, or whatever. So we're like, you know what? We need an RV. But then we were like, okay, we can't take the RV some of the places we go.
Right. Absolutely.
So we're like, what if it breaks down? Then we're stuck and everything. So we were like, why don't we get a bus, like a little tour bus or something?
Sure.
Right.
So after like 3 or 4 months, this morning I bought one. So
that's awesome.
There you go.
Yeah.
The ghost bus.
How many seats?
12.
Nice.
That's great.
I was like, man, that's perfect, and it's got a lot of room.
So you get that road trip vibe where you get to talk the whole time.
Yeah, and the guy drove it down from Augusta for us, and I was like, wow,
it's roadworthy.
See, when he mentioned that, like, I'll drive it down. I was like, okay, it won't run hot. That's the good part.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we're excited. I'm like, now you can call us Ghost Busters.
Of course.
Bus. I know.
It wouldn't be a most haunted city on earth without puns.
Yes.
Did you meet Patrick? That's Patrick.
That's Patrick. Well, the Parajunkies came up with that one because we just hung it up for the last episode.
That's cool.
Yeah, Target, came through this year with some of their neon little cheapy lights and stuff. And we like Patrick. But yeah, that's super awesome though, and I mean, we're really excited to see and hear about all the investigations.
Yeah.
that you guys
And if you're in the area, look up the Paranormal Society of Savannah, because they're a great organization, and you get to hang out with like-minded people. There's classes, there's all kinds of wonderful things, and it's kind of this interesting group that you can really key in on for people who are interested in the paranormal and in the hauntings, but want to have a more hands-on approach.
Yeah. Here's the cool thing is, we've probably, I'm not going to say lost, but, about 10 or 12 members, and they're doing their own thing now.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a great place to learn, and then you can
Yeah,
you
and
can
people
go
say,
out on your own and with your
you-
own teams and things like that.
Yeah, people go, man, aren't you mad because they're like doing this and that? I'm like, they're using the knowledge that we taught them.
Yeah.
And they're doing their own thing.
Right.
Right. And I'm like, man, there's plenty of ghosts for everybody out there.
And it's important to
Right.
remember
so-
that not every hunt is going to have the same end goal.
Yeah.
There's a thought process that goes into every hunt, and you have to really determine whether or
Yeah.
not you're evidence heavy, whether you're not a debunking organization, whether
Yeah.
you're not, an experiential. Because I've always been more experiential than anything else, because I do not care about debunking or evidence.
right.
I care about sensation and camaraderie.
Yeah, exactly.
Being with a group
Fellowship
of people. Yeah, fellowship.
Fun
And having this kind of thing, this shared moment. It's like theater. It's like going to the theater. You are with a group of people who are experiencing the same thing, and then and through the interpretation, you get to talk about it and have these, insightful experiences. So, learning how is an important tool, but why is always going to be a personal journey.
Yeah.
And so you can find yourself, creating a team that is more in line with your why to do it.
Exactly.
Right.
Because you got, team members that they want to play with a Ouija board or whatever, and it's like, no, we don't do that. We have a contract for everybody to sign.
Sure.
And, you just have to have rules.
Right. Absolutely.
And we hate to be that person, but sometimes you need them. And there's been instances where people go, well, I'm not going because I can't do this and I can't wear that or whatever. And we're like, okay. And they start their own team, and of course they get butter. But it's like, hey, that's life, man. Just keep doing it.
Right.
Just have fun. That's all. If you're not doing it to have fun, you're doing it for the wrong reasons, in my opinion. We do it because it's fun. We hang out together. We eat a lot of Mexican food together, right? Because it's cheap, especially when you're on the road.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Have a couple of margaritas,
And that's possibly the best lesson of all is
Have
have
margaritas before a ghost hunt.
Have fun.
have fun. And if it involves margaritas, have margaritas. But I think people have gotten to a place where they take it so seriously
Exactly.
that they forget that in the end, it's all about a sense of wonder. It's all about this exploration of the unknown.
Yeah.
People are obsessed with this concrete world. It's like, but we're trying to get away from that. If you,
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
honestly, that's what we're doing. Is we're leaving this concrete world that presents itself overbearingly every day, all day long, to seek a spiritual experience, an experience that defies all of that concrete that we've been burdened with all our lives.
It's very true.
Yeah. I mean, after that weekend, we're going to Plains, Georgia again.
Oh, right, yeah.
So we're going to Plains Historic Inn. We're going to Rylander House, Three Bridges Road.
Three Bridges Road, nice.
Three Bridges Road, yeah. I don't know why they call it that. There's only two bridges. But they call it
The
Three
third one is a ghost.
Right.
But Google that. It's a sad story.
It is, absolutely.
There's two stories. We were lucky enough to catch the second story of a person that took his life out there. I don't know. As his dad and everybody, we got lucky. They just they saw us out, not there, but at the hotel, and was, hey, can we tag along? And we were like, yeah, we didn't know that was the dad and the sister and everything. Anyways, long story short is, we were doing the spirit box, and he was like, I'm only out here because the guy that did the YouTube video before y'all, he was just, not truthful. He wasn't speaking on knowledge. So he's like, so I think this is a lot of bull, but can I talk to it? I'm like, yeah, talk. And he's like, can I ask a question? So he goes, son, if this is you, what's your nickname? And it was just dead silence for about 15 seconds. And then one of the sisters said, tell Daddy what we call you. And it said Bug. And then it said like bug, like 3 times. And we were like, Bug? And they all started crying. I mean, it was just one of those things where I was kind of getting choked up. And I'm one of them type, I don't cry. You know, you can step on my toes or, you know, poke me in the eye. It's hard. And I was just like, oh, man, I can't believe this is happening. But it was so good.
Well, that's fate right there. I mean, that is absolute fate, because you have to believe that they would never have gotten there on their own. Yeah. They needed this intermediary, people who didn't know, you know, to help them witness something quite remarkable and wonderful. Yeah.
Well, the other cool thing about Three Bridges Road, there's a paranormal. They're not a paranormal team. They said they used to be, but now they're more in the history, like Middle Georgia. Mm-hmm. Anyways, they've gone to Three Bridges Road, and he talked to me kind of like on the square. Not the square. I shouldn't say that. I'm a Freemason, so we say keep it on the square. That means keep it. He talked to me kind of like, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but this is a dude that is no BS, right? Mm-hmm. And he said, but be careful going out there. He said, we believe we saw something that was coming at us. And he said, my buddy works for the Air Force police or whatever. It's like drew his weapon. And he's like, that's not going to stop it. So he said that like this thing was like 9 foot tall, and it had a bunch of other. And so we started looking into that when we got there. And of course, we didn't see anything, but we would hear like big trees kind of like sound like
rustling in the woods,
falling and stuff. And it was weird, man. Here's the weird thing. We're leaving. Sarah's next to me, my dad, and another team member's in the back. And we're leaving, and there's this huge spotlight that pops up when we were leaving, like from this house. And we were like, whoa. But we looked at that, but Sarah was looking straight ahead, and she said, oh, my God, look, what is that? And all we saw was like a blur. It was just big, and it went right across the road like 2 steps. And we was like, I don't know. So we tried to, pull over there with our lights and couldn't find anything. And then we're finally going down the road, and she's just quiet for like 20 minutes. We're like, what do you think you saw? She said, I'm not going to tell you because you're going to laugh. And we're like, no, what do you think? She's like, I think I saw Bigfoot. And I was like, do not tell me that, because I will turn this truck around and I will sit in those woods all night. So, so now we kind of mess with it. We're like, tell us your Bigfoot story, Sarah.
It's like that movie. What was the movie we watched the other night, Jay? Was it like The Ritual or something like? Yeah, it sounds like that. Have you seen that movie?
I think so. God, I watched so many of them. Huh?
So Wendigo.
It's like a Swedish
Wendigo-ish.
Wendigo sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, where they're in the woods and everything. And
one of the most clever monster designs I've seen in a long time.
One of our team members, Sam, she swears by that movie. Like, we were doing the most haunted movies, and she was like, The Ritual for me. And I was like, well, The Ritual was okay. I was like, it wasn't the scariest I've ever seen. It was weird. And she was like, we're not friends. I'm like, okay, because I said
People
The Exorcist is more scarier. But, yeah, she's funny.
Yeah, that when you were saying that, it just reminded me of those scenes where it's like you just need to watch the movie, but there is clever disguising of the monster, so that way you only get glimpses of it, but it's like, wow, like that's a pretty big creature if it's moving the trees like that. But that's just what I thought of.
I'll watch anything kind of horror, except for the real gore stuff. I'm not into that.
Sure. You're not a gore hound.
I found a movie about, 5 or 8 years ago. Y'all probably have seen it. It's called Frankenstein's Army.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, my God. It freaked me out. When there was, I'm going to give it away from people. When that thing came around the corner, I had to take my cat to the bathroom with me. I was scared. My wife was like, what you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to throw it at whatever's there. Yeah. And, play with a kitty.
That's JT.
Cat will just pick apart the stitches,
Right.
But Frankenstein's Army.
It was actually very clever for what it was. We're not gonna. I'm not gonna go on any record and say it's a great movie.
No,
but it's enjoyable.
It is.
Yeah.
I don't like reading subtitles during movies, but I watched The Troll Hunter.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Man, that was good. God, it was good.
So, are you talking about the recent one that came on Netflix, or the one that was like about 10 years ago?
The one about 10 years ago.
Yeah, that one was so good.
God, it was
because it was like a found footage movie.
Yeah.
But instead of like any monster that you're normally that you know of, it was Norwegian, so it was
great.
trolls, and people don't understand how rich a troll history the Norwegians have. So if the Troll Hunter, the found footage one, and the
really
recent
good.
one that was on Netflix was very good too, but it is not as good as that Troll Hunter from.
Yeah. Yeah, we gotta wrap things up.
Oh yeah, we're going into a whole different.
No, it's okay.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I was gonna say for my own sake because I will start going into a whole tangent on the trolls. So we gotta close this one out. But
coming soon, an episode on trolls.
Well, honestly, they're so interesting.
They are.
It's so fascinating,
and they have such a rich, detailed how to deal with them. That this episode's coming because I'm a troll hound myself.
Yes. Well, there's a whole area in Norway where you're not allowed to go because that's the troll land.
There's laws.
Yep.
And elves as well. There's elves laws and troll laws. So which is actually a brilliant way to do environmental issues is to just say you can't go here because of leprechauns. You can't go there because of so American government, pay attention. We need a Mothman reserve.
Oh yeah. I want to thank y'all for having me again. It's always great.
Always a pleasure. And with every investigation you do, come in and give us a breakdown.
Sure.
Tell us what it was like, because it's not about what you find. It's about the experience.
I started to kind of hit you guys up and be like, well, I don't think you guys want to hear what I have to say because I don't want to let anybody down, but it's one of those things where it's like, what? And like the rest of the team that couldn't go, they're like, are you serious? We're like, yeah, it was. But go.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it probably was.
And it's not a letdown. Not finding things is as important as finding things when you take it into the wide scale.
Yeah.
Because the wide scale is how do you know the level of a haunt if you haven't been to places where the experience was different.
Right.
If every place you go is, off the wall crazy, then your scale is off.
Yeah.
Right.
But one last thing I really want to say is so anybody from today until you hit your number that becomes a Parajunkie, they come to the coffee shop, we'll give them a free coffee.
Woo.
So
Parajunkies, free coffee.
Boba tea, whatever, is on us saying, thanks for having us again.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it. And thank you all for being such wonderful people and supporting us as well. So it's
we love it.
Yeah, we the ghost people of Savannah stick together, that's
right.
for sure. So it's
you mess with us, you mess with a whole trailer park. It's like that's right.
Excellent.
Thank you, Patrick, so much for coming on
Absolutely.
today and telling us about your experiences. It's always a pleasure, and we'll have you back before we go to Waverly Hills as well, just so that way you can prep us for it.
Sure.
So, yeah, we'll have like a little Patrick segment.
Excellent.
But thank you guys so much for listening today. And with that, my name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Soucy.
And stay spooky, y'all.